Back here, when there's a political scandal, the phrase often used is, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up that gets you. Will the same be true of Transport for London's boss, Mike Brown? In a report out today, he's accused of removing emails which detailed how severe the delays on Crossrail were getting in his weekly update to the Mayor. Tonight, there are calls for him to quit. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Of course, we had concerns about where this might end up.
He's one of the Mayor's key lieutenants. Mike Brown has been in charge of Transport for London since 2015. But now a damning report from the London Assembly has accused him of hiding the truth about Crossrail. It says Mr Brown watered down weekly reports to the Mayor and he should consider resigning as Commissioner.
Quite clearly, Mike needs to consider his position. Is he fit to carry on in that role, given he has been massaging the messages to the Mayor?
Yet just a few months ago, you were pointing the finger at Sadiq Khan, saying he was the one who wasn't being open about how much he knew.
Well, we think the Mayor did know earlier. We think he knew in August, but we can't finally prove that he knew that bit earlier because it's one person's word against the other.
Crossrail should have opened in December, but the launch has been postponed indefinitely. None of the 10 new stations are finished, and there are software problems with the trains and signals. Today's report uncovered a series of emails, like one from last June, which warned, at the moment, there is insufficient time to complete the testing required ahead of the joint trial running and trial operations from 1st of October 2018. It was deleted before the Mayor saw it, but Sadiq Khan is standing by his Transport Commissioner.
He's as angry and frustrated as I am at the fact that we kept in the dark.
Have you got full confidence in Mike Brown?
Absolutely.
You don't think he should step down?
No, I think he's doing a really good job. Look, I'd lost confidence in the former chair of Crossrail, which is why I asked him to step down. I have full confidence in the Commissioner.
Mr Brown wasn't available today, but TfL said it is entirely incorrect to suggest the Transport Commissioner or anyone at TfL kept any information from the Mayor. This report is less about what went wrong and more about why we weren't told earlier that the project was in trouble. It matters because away from the political wrangling, real people have had their lives disrupted by Crossrail's failure to arrive on time. Abbey Wood Station in southeast London is still a building site. No one knows that better than local hairdresser Linda Williams. She says the construction work has driven away her old customers and Crossrail hasn't delivered any new ones.
We've had all the mess, all the noise and all the aggravation, but we've had no benefits from it. And we've got no future date of it actually opening. And this is what we was all promised was going to, make the village wonderful and everything would be fine.
The London Assembly report concludes that significant concerns about Crossrail's progress were flagged by independent consultants more than a year ago, but they were largely ignored.
Well, Simon is at another unfinished Crossrail station, Farringdon, tonight. Could this report change anything?
Nina, we heard there from Sadiq Khan that Mike Brown has his backing. Both TfL and City Hall, it's clear, want to point the finger of blame at the previous Crossrail management. But this is an unusually hard-hitting report from the London Assembly. And significantly, its findings, including that one that Mike Brown downplayed the risks to Crossrail, have been endorsed by all members of the Transport Committee, including 4 Labour members. One of those is Joanne McCartney, the Deputy Mayor for London, effectively Sadiq Khan's deputy.
Simon, when will we know for sure when the first passenger trains are set to be running on this new rail line?
Well, the new Chief Executive, Mark Wilde, has promised not a date, but a new window for the opening of Crossrail, or the Elizabeth line as it will be called. He says he needs until the end of the month to work out when that will be. But there is a Crossrail board on Thursday of this week, so we could know by the end of this week whether Crossrail is going to open next year, 2021, or maybe sometime after that. Nina.
Answers on a postcard. Simon Harris, thank you.
And we should find out shortly when the delayed and over-budget Crossrail line will finally open in London. For TfL, it can't be soon enough. The delays in its opening has created a hole in their budget. And as our political correspondent Simon Harris reports, that has meant a lot of other transport projects being put on hold as well.
Here we go.
That's the sound of a cyclist taking his life in his hands. Simon Monk needs nerves of steel, not to mention helmet and high vis, to negotiate a roundabout feared by the cycling community. The junction in Greenwich has already claimed 2 lives. There should have been a segregated bike lane here, Cycle Superhighway 4, but the scheme's been held up.
There's still a money issue here. They don't have the funding yet to do a scheme. Now, what they're proposing is to do a quick and dirty interim scheme here in the next few months. But we're still years away from proper safe cycling here.
Transport for London's money worries have also been blamed for the closure of Hammersmith Bridge. The local council was expecting TfL to help pay for vital safety repairs. And on the A40 near Northolt, where the central reservation crash barriers need replacing, the speed limit has been reduced instead. TfL and City Hall blamed government cuts, but the funding crisis has been made even worse by the Crossrail fiasco.
Crossrail was supposed to bring in lots of extra revenue just at the time when the subsidies were being cut by the government. So now they're facing a double whammy with the loss of subsidies for their bus services and underground services, as well as a failure to get in any revenue from Crossrail.
TfL is set to miss out on £600 million in lost income from fares over the next 5 years. Taxpayers are also spending an extra £30 million per week to pay construction costs. And there are fears London's next flagship transport scheme, Crossrail 2, will be affected.
I think it's dead in the water. I cannot see any government giving the serious money that's going to be needed for that project to get it off the ground.
Even with the loss of income from Crossrail, TfL claims to be on target to balance its books by 2023.
We've cut our annual deficit, indeed, over the last 3 years by 2/3. So in 2015-16, before the government grant, we made a loss of 1.5 billion. So that is extraordinarily positive progress.
But despite that positive spin on a £1.5 billion loss, it's clear the sooner Crossrail arrives, the better. Not just for passengers, but for everyone who travels in London.
Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris has joined us from Westminster because I believe we've got an update on our Crossrail story. Simon.
Yes, Charlene, the Crossrail board has been meeting this afternoon and they have finally come up with what we expect is the new opening date. Except it's not a date, it's a 6-month window. Crossrail will not open before the beginning of October 2020. But it might be until the end of March 2021 before the actual opening takes place. They're giving themselves 6 months with a midpoint of the end of 2020 to make it happen. And one other significant point, Bond Street Station, which is the one most behind in the construction programme, will not open at all at that time. We don't know when Bond Street will open. But for the moment, that's the latest from Crossrail, a 6-month window beginning at the start of October 2020, so well after the mayoral election next year.
All right, Simon, thank you very much. And of course, Simon is in our Westminster studio because of his Late Debate programme, which will be happening tonight after News at 10 at 10:45. So do make sure that you join him for that. I'm sure he'll have more to add on that Crossrail story.
Good evening. If you thought there was finally some clarity over when Crossrail will open, think again. Last night, the project's boss set a 6-month window for when the line will be ready to use, sometime between October next year and March 2021. But today, when pressed, Mark Wilde was unable to guarantee even that. It could be put back again, he admitted, if testing doesn't go to plan. The project is one of the most ambitious transport schemes in the world, but over budget and now 2 years overdue. It is one that is costing Londoners dear. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Mark Wilde has put his reputation on the line. Crossrail's boss has spent months coming up with a plan to rescue the troubled project. Today, he was at Tottenham Court Road, one of 10 new stations, all of them unfinished. This is one of the most advanced. Mr Wilde now thinks the Elizabeth line will be ready at the end of 2020, give or take 3 months.
Can you guarantee the railway will be open by the end of March 2021?
Well, we expect this railway to open at the end of 2020. We've declared a window of uncertainty.
Can you guarantee that it will definitely open by the end of March 2021?
Well, there's never any guarantees, but we've planned this work very carefully, so we think it's a really realistic and deliverable plan.
It won't just be embarrassing if the new deadline isn't met, it will be expensive. Crossrail now looks set to cost more than £17 billion. But if it hasn't opened by March 2021, the price will rise even more.
Oh, I have no doubt that Londoners, through businesses and through taxpayers, will be having to pick up any additional bill that may come down the line with this project. Government have been very clear about that.
it isn't just passengers who are being let down by Crossrail's failure to arrive on time. This footbridge over the line at Silvertown in East London has been closed for more than a year. It needs renovating, but with stations to finish and trains to test, Crossrail bosses clearly have more important priorities. But the bridge played a vital role in the local community. Workers at the big Tate and Lyle sugar factory on the banks of the Thames used the bridge to get to the nearby DLR station and local shops.
It's cut us off from our neighbours. We've been in this community for 140 years, and a lot of people over the road behind us here, want to come and visit us. We want to spend money in their shops. So it's really, really sad.
Sukhdev Jula runs a corner shop. He was forced to lay off staff as the bridge closure took its toll on his business.
It's just dried up. As you can see, there's no one in the shop. It's been like this for 18 months.
Even though there are no passengers, the railway is now being used to test the trains and signals. With pressure on to get the Elizabeth line open, it's not clear when there will be a gap in the traffic for work on the bridge to restart. And some in Silvertown now wonder if it will ever reopen.
Simon, so Mark Wilde is confident Crossrail will open in this new window, but no guarantees. What could go wrong then?
Well, there are two really big challenges. The first is to finish the stations and make sure all the technical and safety systems work, the CCTV cameras, the public address systems, the ticket machines, the escalators, the smoke alarms. That could take up to a year. Then there are the trains and signals. Mark Wilde says the signalling system is the most sophisticated in the world. We know there are serious software problems with the trains and the signals not able to talk to each other, and no one can be sure when all of those bugs can be ironed out. They won't start trial running of the timetable until the beginning of next year. That'll take another 6 to 9 months. So the end of 2020 is the target. The reality might be a bit earlier, it might be later.
All right, Simon, thank you.